Woohoo! I'm so excited today because we're finally getting around to the lessons on the shell. Now, when I say the shell, what do I mean? Um, I remember back in the 80s and I had a Commodore 64 computer. I got it in 1982 and I was so excited. I was like 7 or 8 years old and I got it. And you had to type as soon as you turned it on, basically, it was a terminal and you typed in and you would actually be able to code in the basic computer language straight off of it. And you had these other things like poke 53281, and it would turn the border black, or 53280, and it would turn your screen black. And you could do all these things by, now what that was, peeking and poking. You were putting things into the hardware, into the memory, into actually binary states within the system that was going to assembly language. And so this shell was speaking directly to the hardware of the computer. Now, in terms now when we're talking about, so you've got this hardware and it's like almost this robot binary talk, machine language, and then you've got what's called a kernel. And so the kernel is the thing then that's wrapped around that, and it's the thing that controls all of those pieces of hardware and the things in your computer, from the chip and everything. Now, the thing that allows us to interact with that kernel is the shell. And so where the Commodore 64 had its own sort of shell that went around there, and then Windows, we had DOS. Okay, so we had the DOS shell that many are used to. Now, when Windows came about, well, when Windows came about and said they were actually making Windows, we had used to have like 286s and 386 computers, and everything was still in this DOS. And I thought, oh, it's crazy. Who's going to want Windows and this, user interface? We call them GUIs to get in. But I was wrong. And people actually really took to Windows, and the rest is history. However, it's kind of like being able to drive a manual car versus an automatic. The go on, and I saw this meme saying that it's a millennial theft function to actually have a manual car, because millennials can't drive automatics. I don't know how true that is, but once you get to actually get back to the shell, especially now with things like Linux, and even Windows has what's called the PowerShell built in, and or you can install Linux. So there are Debian versions of Linux that you can actually have installed on Windows. Or if you have a Mac OS system and you type term or iterm in, and you'll get a terminal, you have your own shell that's the same family as the Linux shell. So it's like the Bash basics, except now the standard shell is called Z shell, as Unix. And so there's this universal language now that whether you're on Mac, Windows, Linux, it's all the same kind of shell that you can use. Once you start using it, it's fast, and you can do things on your computer that it would take forever, or you just couldn't do using the apps that you have where you have to drag your mouse around. And if it's one thing, the more you use the shell, the less you're going to use your mouth. And every time you're not reaching for the mouse, it means that you're going to be doing things faster. And things in the shell are just faster. So let's have a look. This is my cool matrix background shell. I'm gonna now, as for any program, if it's running in the shell, the general muscle memory thing you need is Control C. Control C is going to stop whatever's running. Bang, stopped. That's called C matrix, by the way. Okay, so I'm in the shell. Now you can see it says here, now I'm on my Mac. It says Stuart OSX. That tells me my operating system. Now your shell could look different. I've set my shell up, and I'll show you in other clips how to actually set your shell up to the way you like it. I'm using Z shell. You can see up here it's Z shell, and I used a thing called Oh My Z shell to actually customize it and make it look sexy, make it look really nice. And you can customize it however you like. Now let's have a look. The first thing that you need to know how to do is see what you've got in your directory. So I'm in my home directory, which is Stuart. By the way, to show who's using the computer, type who am I as one word. Who am I? Stuart. That's me. Okay. You might have heard people say, oh, they need to get root or root access. What that means is every, say, Linux system or Unix-based system, you have the user level, but if you get root access, it means you have access to everything and you can totally destroy the computer. So it's not safe to have root, but some things you need higher level. They call it escalated privileges to be able to access things. But wherever possible, try and stay within the least privilege so you don't screw anything up on your machine. So I'm sitting as user, Stuart, ls, list, and it shows me all the things that are in my directory that I am. So in my computer, I've got them colored blue here. All of those things that you see, if they're light blue, are directories. Now there's another way of doing a list, and I can say ls. Now, this is the hyphen, and you'll hear people call it a hyphen, a dash. I'm going to be using the word tac. So whenever you hear me say the word tac, it means do the hyphen. Okay, so ls tac l for long form. Watch this. Bang. It lists everything down like this, and you get a whole lot more information. I've done another clip, and I'll be so you'll be able to. I'll put a link to that on what this all means. These are the permissions. So D means it's a directory, RWX, so that means that this directory, read, write, executable, read, no write, no executable, read, no write, no executable. So this is for the current user, this is for the group that the user belongs to, and this is just for everyone, the last one. But anyway, I have another thing covering that, you'll learn it. You've got the owner, the group that it belongs to, the size, the date that it was last accessed, and then the name. Pretty cool. So to make your own directory, you say make directory, mkdir, and I'm going to make a pretend directory. I'll just call it sample directory. Now if I do an ls, you'll see sample directory is now here, and it was created today. I created it. There you go. Now let me remove. Now to go into that directory, I will type change directory cd, and then sample. Now I could type it all out, but the wonderful thing in all of these systems, if you start typing and then hit tab, if it's there, it'll print it out for you. And if there are more than one, it'll give you choices. So sample directory, yep, enter. I'm in the directory. ls for list, nothing's in there. ls, a means all, so even hidden files. Now you'll see this dot and two dots. One dot means the current directory or the working directory. If you want to know what directory you're in at any time, because sometimes it might be confusing, we have a command for that. pwd, print working directory. Okay, doesn't mean password, means print working directory. Bang, tells you which directory I am in. This is from the root, so users, Stuart, sample directory. Now, one interesting thing here, see how this says users and Stuart, but if you have a look at my thing here, I've set it up to show me the current directory, you'll see this little tilde, the squiggly line. So, this is one thing. Your squiggly line is representative of your home directory for whatever user you're working at. So I'm working at Stuart, that's going to be that. So if you want to know your home directory, by the way, we use now what's called a variable. So there's all these variables. So if I want to see something in a variable, I say echo. Echo will just echo whatever's in there. $, meaning a variable, and I want to know what the home directory is. So big letters, and see, that tells me what my home is, and that shows exactly there. So as you're working, you might want to use this as a shortcut, or this is the long form. Okay, so I've got no files in there, but I'm going to show you a trick. So cd, change directory, two dots. Two dots means go up one directory, and I'm back in my home directory. Now another way to get back into your home directory is just to type cd with nothing, and that will jump you straight back to your home directory. It's getting a bit messy on my screen. I want a clear screen. I just type clear. Bang. What's the date today? You can do that. Just type the word cal for calendar. Look at that. You've got a calendar and it highlights the date for you. If I want a calendar for the year, cal 2021. There's the whole year. But anyway, let's clear that again. So where were we? We had our sample directory. So I'm going to remove that directory. So rm, remove. Now, there are two ways. I could remove directory, rmdir, or I could remove. Now, remove's normally for files. And so if you're only using rm, you have to say a recursive and force it. Otherwise, it'll say, If I try and do this sample directory, look at the error I get. Sample directory is a directory. It's saying rm is usually only used with files, not directory. So it's preferable to delete directories with rmdir. Rmdir, remove directory, sample directory. Now, a way that I want to make the directory and jump into it without having to do it in two steps. So I can just do this. Make directory, sample directory, because I just deleted it. Two signs, two ampersands means once that's successfully done, then do this. If it's not done, it's going to stop. And I want to cd $_ underscore. So what that means is $ is whatever that command was that just got executed, and then underscore file, go into that. So I made the sample directory. That sample directory becomes that $ underscore. Then I want to cd, I want to change directory into that. So if I hit enter, I should create the directory and then see that I've been moved into the directory I just created. Ta-da! There I am. Now, let's make a file. I'm going to call it myfile.txt. So to make a file, type touch. Touch will make any file. I'm going to call it myfile.txt. And now if I do an ls, bang, I've got my file there. I can do an lsl, a long form, and normally I just get used to typing lsla. So lsla, and I think I even have an alias, so I can just do L here, and it will list it for me. Okay, it just gives me a normal list. So anyway, lsla, and you can see now that I have this my file in there. Now, if I use Vim, so then my file name. And again, I hit tab and it completed it for me. My Vim will open up. Now, Vim, this is the top line of my file. This is another line. 1, get some lunch. 2, go to the bank. 3, go home. Okay, these are just some notes. I want to save that, so in Vim I hit :W for write. Okay, I want to get out of all of that, so W, write, quit all, WQA, and I'm out. Now, if I list, so my file's there, I want to see what's in my file. There are a few things I can do. We have a command called cat. So it's really concatenate, but cat will show you the contents of a file and even combine contents of multiple files. But my file, bang, tells me what's nice. There's another thing you can do though for files, and so we have head. So sometimes the files that you have are huge and you don't want to open the whole file, you just want to see what's at the top. So I can say head, my file. Now, because there's not that many lines, it gives that. I think it gives you about 5 or 6 lines of the head, or the first 10 lines. And you can tell them actually how many you want in the head. By the way, if ever you're in a Linux program, say for that command, head, and you know how to use it, you can just type man for manual, head, and it will tell you how to use it. It tells you how many lines. So say I only want 2 lines. And 2, it should only give me the first 2 lines. So let's hit Q to quit out. I'll type head my file. And that only gives me the first 2 lines. That's pretty cool. Heads, we have tails. So what's tail my file? It gives me all of it, but I guess it'll work the same way. So tail to my file, and it'll give me the last 2 lines. There you go. So these are ways we can start looking into our files. Cutting, pasting with your mouse. So you'll go and grab something and you'll Control or Command C for copy, Command V for paste. If you're using Vim, you know that it's a bit different. Instead of copy, we call it yanking. So you'll yank text. That will keep it there, or you'll delete it. Little bit of a mind shift when you're... Watch this. So copy, sure. So if I want a copy of my file, I can say CP for copy, my file. I'll call it the other file.txt. ls, and you can see I have both files there when I list it. Let me delete the other file. So rm for remove the other file. And I'm back with that. Let me just clear that out. So I've got my file in there. Change the name. You might think there will be a command change name. Don't need to. What is changing the name really doing? It is moving a file into another name, whether it's in the same directory or another directory. So have the move command. Then rename, we call it move. So I'm going to move mv my file to another file.txt. So what I'm really saying is I'm moving my file into another file. But actually, it's all that we'll really be doing is changing the name of my file to another file. Now if I ls, I've only got one file there, it's moved this, my file, to another file. And if I cat, oh sorry, I need to cat the actual file name, so another file. So let me Control C out of that. Cat another file. There, you can see the file is in there. Another couple of little things. Different ways I can add to that file. Watch this. If I echo, we learned about echo a minute ago, so I put it in things. This is another line. It means I'm going to be putting this output of the echo into the file. If just one, it's going to override everything there. But if I put 2, it means it's going to append it. So I'm going to put number 4, go to sleep. Oh, sorry. No, what am I talking about? Echo, number 4, go to sleep. And I want that to be appended to another file.txt. Now watch this. Cat another file. There, 4 go to sleep is there. I could even vim that, another file. And so whether you're in a text editor, you could edit this out, or you could edit it in Vim. Now check this out. WQA. I don't want this to be a text file. I want it to be a markdown file. That's okay. I can just move it again. So move another file.txt to another file.md for markdown. ls. Now something cool happens when I open this in Vim. It knows that it's got an MD extension now, and so it's actually going to set it up as markdown. So watch this. Insert, I'm going to put, so this, so that's a title, bang, that's a list. So now this is markdown. So what, just to show you what happens, if I take this markdown now, yank to the bottom. So the cool thing with this is if I just yank this, so there are different ways of yanking. I can hit V, put it in the visual mode and select everything that I want and yank. or escape to get out of the V, GG to go to the top. I can just say yank to capital G. Capital G means the bottom. You can see in the bottom 6 lines yanked. And now I'm going to go to my markdown to HTML just to show you, and watch this. I have instant HTML. All of that's generated from the terminal. I want to save that, write, quit all, bang, ls, and it's all there. If I want to go back up to the home directory, I will cd ... and it's there. If I want to go back to the directory I was just in and I actually forgot what directory I was, I can do cd and then attack, and it will take me back to the last directory. And I'm there. So that's pretty cool. Another thing that I can do is if I wanted to move another file to my home directory, move another file, I want to go up to the home directory. So that double dot means up to the next directory, enter, ls, that file's gone from there. But if I cd to my root directory, ls, and you can see another file, here it is, it's gone there. Let me move it back. So move another file to sample directory, cd sample directory, ls, and that's there. So that's pretty cool. These are just some basic commands that you're going to around the terminal. This is terminal 101. And do any tutorial on using the terminal in Linux and Mac. They're all basically the same commands. And once you start to feel comfortable, you're going to be able to go on with some of the next things, because using Vim, using different things to get some of the data around Visi-Data is really cool. We're going to be going into that, and all different things. News to get all of your feeds, but all of this is going to help you learn, research, get data, put it together, and put your learning mind into overdrive. But the first thing to learn how to use the terminal.